Sometimes situations end without giving you peace. Sometimes the door closes and all you hear is silence. But that silence, that's where your transformation begins. That's where you learn the hard truth. Closure ain't something someone gives you. Closure is something you build within yourself. See, when you go through enough trials, enough disappointments, enough nights where your own thoughts feel too loud, you start to realize something powerful. You realize everything you lost carved the space for everything you're about to gain. That every lonely season planted something inside you that only growth could water. That every person who hurt you was unintentionally pushing you toward who you were always meant to become. You didn't need them to come back and explain. Life already explained it for you. You didn't need them to admit they were wrong. Your progress already proved it. You didn't need them to validate your worth. You validated it by surviving. And listen, growth isn't loud. It's not glamorous. It's not posted on Instagram. Growth is those nights you decide to keep going when nobody's clapping for you. Growth is forgiving yourself for the ways you settled. Growth is understanding your value so clearly that losing anyone who couldn't see it don't hurt the same anymore. That's what closure really is. Choosing yourself after years of choosing everything else. And the truth is, the version of you standing here today, this stronger, wiser, more self-aware version, this is who you were fighting for the whole time. This is who the pain was shaping. This is who the heartbreak was molding. This is who the struggle was preparing. You didn't realize it back then, but every setback was building this version of you. Every betrayal was sharpening your vision. Every moment you felt alone was teaching you how to stand on your own 2 feet. You asked for closure, and life gave you elevation. You asked for answers, and life gave you clarity in the form of growth. You asked for peace, and life made you the source of your own peace. That's why you don't move the same anymore. That's why your spirit don't break the same anymore. That's why the things that used to shake you barely move you now. You became your own reminder that you were never defeated. You were developing. You became your own healing. You became your own breakthrough. You became the closure you thought somebody owed you. And when you understand that, when you really feel that in your soul, you stop waiting for people to circle back and fix what they broke. You stop reopening chapters. God already ended. You stop searching for explanations from people who were never meant to understand your journey. Because the person you are today, the discipline you built, the wisdom you carry, the peace you protect, the strength you earned, that is your closure. That is your answer. That is your freedom. And from here on out, you move forward knowing you don't need validation, you don't need permission, and you don't need anything you lost. You already closed the chapter by becoming someone the old you could only dream of. Keep going. The marathon continues. Closure isn't something you wait for. It's something you become through growth, resilience, and self-accountability. And the part most people don't understand is that closure rarely comes in the form you expect. It doesn't show up as a perfect apology or a long message explaining why someone hurt you or a moment that suddenly makes everything make sense. Life don't hand out those clean endings. Instead, it gives you experiences that force you to confront yourself, challenge yourself, and rebuild yourself from the inside out. It pushes you in a situation where you realize nobody is coming to save you from the confusion or the pain. Nobody is coming to hand you peace. That's the moment you start learning that closure is something you have to create. And it begins with you choosing to rise above what happened instead of letting it define you. When you stop waiting on someone else to close your chapter, you take your power back. You stop giving the people who hurt you the ability to control how you move, how you feel, or how you heal. Some people leave you without a goodbye. Some betray you without remorse. Some break you without accountability. And some disappoint you without explanation. If you sit around waiting for them to make it right, you'll stay stuck in the same moment while life moves on without you. Closure isn't them coming back to fix it. Closure is you realizing you're still standing, even after everything that tried to break you. Closure is when you look at the wounds, and instead of reopening them, you start treating them. You start understanding that healing is not about erasing the past, but rising above it. And closure grows from resilience. Resilience is the muscle you build from every hit you take and still keep moving. It's the voice inside you that says, I deserve peace even if no one explains why they disturbed it. It's the decision to get up again, to trust again, to believe again, even when life has shown you some of its darkest sides. Every setback teaches resilience. Every heartbreak sharpens your awareness. Every disappointment strengthens your emotional foundation. At some point, you stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start saying, this shaped me into who I needed to become. That shift, that's where closure is born. Self-accountability is the other half of the equation. It's easy to blame others for what they did, and they might really be wrong. But accountability is about recognizing where you stayed too long, where you ignored the signs, where you gave too much of yourself in places that didn't deserve it. Not to beat yourself up, but to empower yourself. Because once you own your part in the story, you also own your ability to rewrite it. Accountability is freedom. It's you saying, I allowed this then, but I won't allow it now. It's you establishing standards, boundaries, and self-respect that can't be negotiated. It's you deciding you won't break yourself trying to fix someone else. Closure flows naturally when you take responsibility for your healing and stop expecting someone else to repair what they damaged. Growth, resilience, self-accountability, that's the real closure. That's what makes you wake up one day and realize you're no longer emotionally tied to the things that once kept you up at night. You don't feel the same sting, the same confusion, the same pull to revisit the past. Your heart gets quieter, your mind gets clearer, your spirit gets stronger. You start recognizing that peace isn't something someone gives you. Peace is something you protect by removing yourself from people and environments that can't honor your worth. You understand that life will always test you, but you don't have to let those tests define you. Closure becomes the moment you look at who you are now, wiser, stronger, more grounded, and you understand that everything you survived contributed to your evolution. You didn't wait for healing. You built it. You didn't wait for answers. You became them. You didn't wait for permission to move forward. You decided you deserved to. Closure was never about them. It was always about who you chose to become after everything tried to stop you. The version of you today is the proof that every loss, betrayal, and silent ending was shaping your purpose, not destroying it. It takes time to understand that the things you thought were breaking, you were actually building the foundation for the person you were meant to become. When you're in the middle of the storm, you don't see the transformation happening. All you feel is the weight, the confusion, the frustration of asking why people switched up, why certain doors closed, why life took turns you didn't expect. But when you look back from the place you stand today, you start to see how every moment that felt like an ending was really an invitation for you to rise higher, think deeper, and grow into someone stronger than the version of you that walked into those situations. There's a certain kind of clarity that only comes after pain, not because suffering is noble, but because it reveals parts of you that comfort never touches. You learn your limits. You learn your strength. You learn your worth in a way nobody can take away again. The betrayal you faced didn't break your spirit. It taught you how to recognize real loyalty. The losses you endured didn't empty your life. They emptied the spaces that were too small for your future. The silent endings force you to see the truth without sugarcoating, without illusions, without waiting for someone to explain what their actions already made clear. And through all of it, you discover something powerful. You can rebuild. You can rise. You can evolve even when you don't get closure, even when you don't get justice, even when you don't get answers. Purpose isn't something you stumble into by accident. Purpose is shaped through experiences that call something out of you. Every time life pulled something away, it was also pushing you towards something else. The frustration you felt became fuel. The disappointment carved out capacity. The heartbreak opened a deeper understanding of what you deserve. You started realizing your purpose doesn't grow in perfect conditions. It grows in the moments that force you to reevaluate who you are, where you're going, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Your purpose was being shaped every time you wiped your own tears, every time you stood back up after collapsing under pressure, every time you chose growth when bitterness seemed easier, every time you picked truth over comfort, self-respect over attachment, peace over chaos. The version of you today carries a wisdom that wasn't there before. You don't react the same way. You don't trust the same way. You don't give your energy away recklessly. Not because you're cold, but because life trained you to be intentional. You understand that every connection, every opportunity, every moment is part of a bigger picture you're building. You understand that not everyone deserves access to your heart or your vision. You understand that your spirit can't afford to be around people who drain you, distract you, or delay your growth. The lessons weren't easy, but they made your purpose clear. They sharpened your direction. They aligned you with a version of yourself you once didn't believe you could become. And the powerful thing is this: the old you wouldn't have made it here. The old you would have stayed attached to what hurt, stayed loyal to what broke, stayed hopeful for what had already ended. But the person you are now knows better. You honor yourself differently. You protect your peace with intention. You choose your future over your past. All of that evolution didn't happen in spite of the pain, it happened because of it. The hardships carved out a stronger mindset. The disappointments deepened your intuition. The losses expanded your capacity to receive something better. You didn't crumble under the weight. You transformed beneath it. So when you look at who you are today, understand that you are not here by accident. You are here because you survived what was meant to break you. You are here because purpose was being shaped inside you long before you understood it. You are here because every ending redirected you towards something more aligned. The person you've become is the clearest evidence that none of it was wasted, and every piece of your story was working together to prepare you for what comes next. Real peace comes when you stop searching for explanations from others and recognize that your evolution is the answer you were looking for. There's a point in life where you get tired of replaying the same moments in your mind, trying to understand why people did what they did, why they walked away, why they chose to hurt you instead of heal with you. You get tired of waiting for someone to come back and make things right, tired of trying to decode actions that were loud enough on their own. And in that exhaustion, something shifts. You stop chasing clarity from outside sources and start realizing the clarity has been forming within you the whole time. The peace you wanted wasn't hidden in their reasoning. It was growing inside your own transformation. Peace begins the moment you accept that every unanswered question doesn't need an explanation to lose its power. Sometimes the closure you thought you needed from others was only delaying the closure you needed from yourself. You don't need to know why they changed. You don't need to know why they left. You don't need to know why loyalty wasn't mutual. People's actions are reflections of their character, not your worth. Holding on to confusion keeps you tied to situations that already serve their purpose. But when you stop seeking answers from the same places that cause your pain, you start seeing your own growth as the response. You realize that the healing you've done, the distance you've gained, the strength you've built, all of that is the explanation. You became the clarity you were chasing. Your evolution is your peace because it proves you didn't stay stuck in the same emotional space that broke you. You moved. You learned. You adapted. You grew into someone who no longer needs validation from the people who couldn't value you. That inner shift changes everything. You begin to understand that peace isn't found in controlling outcomes or correcting the past. Peace is found in accepting that life unfolds exactly as it should, even when it feels unfair, even when it leaves scars, even when it forces you to rewrite your story alone. Because the moment you embrace your growth, you stop negotiating with the pain. You stop trying to resurrect relationships that ended for a reason. You stop giving power to situations that no longer match the person you're becoming. And there's something freeing about that. When you stop needing explanations, you also stop carrying the emotional weight of other people's choices. You stop assuming responsibility for misunderstandings you didn't create. You stop internalizing rejection and start seeing it as redirection. You stop trying to convince anyone of your value because you've already proven it to yourself. Peace comes when you stop revisiting closed doors and start noticing the open ones that appeared the moment you walked away. It comes when you realize that your healing was never dependent on anyone else's accountability. It was dependent on your ability to move forward with or